Shalom everybody and welcome back to Old Soul Torah. Today we want to ask a legitimate question about the Tanakh. The Tanakh is the official name of the Hebrew Bible, made up of 24 books. And if you look at the Talmud says that the very last book that was included in the canon of the Tanakh, before the closing, before they stopped adding books to the Bible at a certain point, they stopped right after Megillat Esther, right after the scroll of Esther, or the story of Esther. Who was Esther? It was a Jewish prophetess, a Jewish woman who lived during the time of Persia, and she secretly, in a hidden way, she hid her identity and married the king of Persia, and she was able to prevent a genocide on the Jewish people. Today, that historical occasion is celebrated as a Jewish festival of Purim. Okay, so every year we celebrate Purim. We celebrate the miracle of Purim, and that is that our lives were spared from genocide from the wicked Haman, who was an advisor, an evil advisor to the king of Persia. Okay, but the real question we're coming back to is, how come, if there was a miracle, a miraculous intervention involved in this holiday, in this festival, according to the scroll, how come God's name is missing? How come God's name is not mentioned? And why would the rabbis allow this? Why would they say the final book, the closure from Adam and Eve all the way throughout history, right? The patriarchs, the matriarchs into Egypt and Moses, the Exodus, and then all the judges and the prophets and the kings of Israel, including Saul, David, Solomon, and then all the later prophets, the major prophets, the minor prophets, and finally all the way to the end, you have a story that doesn't mention God's name as the final act. The rabbis say, our sages say, that God is in all the details, all the cause and effect and cause and effect and cause and effect that you read throughout the scroll. God was involved in that. So what is that saying? Is that this is a new dimension of God, rather than God being something external and intervening, like in the days of Moses, through overt miracles, obvious miracles. Now God is working through the natural course of history, the natural course of the laws of nature, not violating any of the laws of nature. So, in a way, we say that God is hidden, God is concealed. So here's the next clue. If you look at the scroll of Esther, how do you say the scroll of Esther in Hebrew? It's Megillat Esther. So the word scroll in Hebrew, Megillah, comes from the Hebrew word gilui. Gilui means to make known, to reveal. So the revelation, the Megillat Esther, is the revelation of Esther. But Esther means something. The word Esther means hidden or concealment. Ne'estar, right? Something that is hidden. Megillat Esther, the scroll of Esther, means the revelation of the concealed or the hidden. The word Esther was not even her real name, meaning even her real name was concealed. The real name of the prophetess was Hadassah. Hadassah disguised herself as Esther. So everything is a disguise. You have to understand that even the holiday of Purim that we celebrate today is celebrated with masks and a masquerade. So even the people celebrating Purim today are not showing, not revealing their true identity. They're hiding behind masks, and they do these things called Purim spiels, which are these little theatrical skits that mock reality. that mock the superficial, everyday narrative of reality is made fun of through comedy. So this book, behind this simple story of the natural course of events that happen on the stage of everyday politics, right? Behind the stage, behind the masks, where the eye doesn't see the obvious, Hashem, the Almighty, the God, is orchestrating everything through the natural course of events that conform to the laws of nature. The story of Esther is a long list of by chances, referring to the events that only seem to have no predetermined cause or purpose. By chance suggests that certain outcomes happen randomly or coincidentally. But the annual festival of Purim, when the scroll of Esther is read, comes as a reminder for us to take a second look. What seems like random events may indeed be influenced by a higher intelligence that is behind the holistic functioning of our world. Do you see that? So, question. What's the purpose? What's the reason? And why is this the last, final word of the Tanakh, of the Hebrew Bible? Remember, we usually leave what's most important for the last. It's like the final statement. So what is the Tanakh trying to teach us? In Hasidic philosophy, we are taught that there are two levels of miracles. Miracle 1 is a traditional miracle that is a physics breaker. It shows God is not limited by the laws of nature. Seas splitting, the 10 plagues, a staff that becomes a snake. The problem with this level of miracle is that nature, or the natural way, is seen as an obstruction to divine revelation and divine will. And so the laws of nature need to be changed in order to express divine will. But miracle 2 shows us something different. The system doesn't have to be changed. You can play by the rules and still find a way to win. That's Purim. The aim was achieved without any natural laws being broken. Divine will in this type of miracle is orchestrated within the system. The natural world becomes a mirror reflecting the divine rather than obstruction to it. And this is a far deeper expression of godliness in the world. And now we're going to ask a second question, a deeper question that hasn't been asked yet, and it's about Purim itself. Purim is referred to as a holiday that never ceases. It will never disappear from the face of the earth. We see this in the Megillat Esther, the scroll of Esther itself. If you look at the bold print, it says, "And these days of Purim shall never cease among the Jews, and the memory of them shall never perish among their descendants." The Talmud goes even further to say, in the Messianic Age, all books of the prophets and writings will lose their worth, except for the Torah of Moses and the book of Esther. So now we have to ask the question, why? Why will it be relevant, the story of Esther in the Messianic Age? The Maharal explains like this, is because there's content to the story that spiritual elevation and advancement of progress that we have made. We've reached an additional power, he said. We've reached an additional level. And remember, keep in mind, this is the final book of the Tanakh. The final book. Now it makes sense that the final book is going to leave us with one of the most important messages. Somehow the final book of the Tanakh is going to be preparing us for the future. What is so special? What can we learn from Esther that will help us in the Messianic Age? And that is the miracle number 2, if you recall. The miracle number 2, where heaven expresses itself through the earth, because heaven and earth have become one. Meaning the extraordinary can manifest and express itself and speak itself into being through the ordinary. where the infinite can be housed by the finite, where God doesn't need to violate his laws of nature in order to make a statement. It is through his world that everything happens, because earth and heaven in one. The spiritual and the physical have adjusted to each other. The physical right now, today, as we speak, it's happening right now. This is all irrelevant for our times. The physical is adjusting itself to a higher frequency. Not everybody is making the transition gracefully. There's going to be those that fall aside, that cannot adjust to the new consciousness, the new energy, the new frequency, the light that is happening in the Messianic time, where we're at the very beginning of that cycle. So this is an adjustment phase that we're in right now, and the heavenly or the spiritual is also adjusting itself to the physical. Perhaps we can better understand why God's name is not mentioned in the scroll with the following idea. According to Kabbalah, each of the divine names represents another type of relationship, another expression of his attributes. But during Purim, we witnessed a level of divine expression that transcended any such divine attribute. For it wasn't his attributes relating to us, but his essence. And God's essence is behind all divine names and can be found residing in all things. So if there's anything that Megillat Esther, the story of Esther, Purim, has come to teach us, is that while all this is happening, this incredible harmony between heaven and earth is happening, there's one other important factor that we have to remind ourselves and remember every day, is that in the end, God wins. In the end, God's going to claim his victory here in this world, and we're going to see in coming days that are so filled with his light, his presence, and the spiritual will be. What does it mean it expresses itself through the natural? It means it is natural. It is natural. In the meantime, adjust yourself to the new energy. Don't be taken by all the great turbulence that's happening in the world. Adjust yourself appropriately to this higher energy, to this new energy, to this messianic consciousness that's happening in the world, and I think you're going to be okay. Stay tuned to our channel. Thank you for viewing the Old Soul Torah channel. Please, if you're not a member of our tribe, we invite you to subscribe and visit us and keep our friendship connected. Okay? Until next week, stay blessed and shalom.